Hello and welcome to How to Deal with Grief and Trauma. My name is Natalie Himmelrich. How to Deal with Grief and Trauma is completely self-funded, produced and edited by me, Natalie Himmelrich. Consider making a small donation to support the podcast. Go to bit.ly/support, capital G, capital T, and podcast. I repeat, bit.ly/supportgt podcast. Thank you so much. And for more information, please visit Natalie's website, join the podcast's Instagram page, and subscribe to the newsletter to receive updates on future episodes. Welcome to the special series on the many faces of trauma. In each episode, we'll explore one trauma type in a clear, gentle way, what it is, how it can show up in daily life, and one small step that can help your nervous system feel a little safer. Nothing here is meant to diagnose you, and you're always invited to take what fits and leave the rest. And because this is trauma work, we'll end every episode with a short grounding practice you can do anywhere. So today we're talking about preverbal trauma, experiences of overwhelm or unsafety that happened before we had language. This is non-graphic and general, but it can still feel tender. So if you notice tightness, restlessness, or numbness, that is a nervous system response. And you can pause, slow down, or return later. Preverbal trauma can be confusing because people often say, "But I don't remember anything bad happening." And that's exactly the point. Because when something overwhelming happens before words, the memory is often not stored as a clear story, but it can show up as a body reaction you can't explain, a sudden flood of panic or shame, a deep sense of "I am not safe," or a pattern in relationships that feels older than your logical mind. So this episode is about giving you a map for something that is real, even when it's hard to name. And if you're listening as a helper, partner, or clinician, this episode can help you understand why some people can't talk it out in a traditional way because the original imprint wasn't verbal to begin with. So let me explain what preverbal trauma is. Preverbal trauma refers to a trauma imprint formed in early life, typically before the child has language and a narrative memory. This does not mean something dramatic had to happen. In a nervous system sense, preverbal trauma can form when an infant or a very young child experiences persistent distress without soothing, an inconsistent attunement, repeated separation without reliable repair, overwhelming medical experiences, chronic caregiver stress that the child's body absorbs, or an environment that is unpredictable, loud, tense, or unsafe. So here's the key idea behind this. The baby's nervous system is regulated through connection. Babies cannot self-regulate at this point. And because we cannot self-soothe, we are soothed through someone else. We need the caregiver's mom, dad, or someone else to help us co-regulate. So preverbal trauma is often less about a single event and more about how safety was or wasn't available during the time the nervous system was forming its baseline. So how is preverbal memory stored? Many people think of memory like a video recording, but early memory is often stored as implicit memory, which is like a body-based pattern rather than a story that you can redraw from your mind. So implicit memory can show up as, for example, a tight throat when somebody raises their voice, or a stomach drop when someone takes too long to text back, a freeze response during conflict, an urge to please, disappear, or control, a sense of threat in calm situations, or difficulty feeling comforted even when love is present. So if you recognize some of that, or if you've ever thought, "I don't know why I react like this," preverbal trauma could be a part of that explanation. And to be clear, this is not about blaming parents or caregivers. It's about understanding your nervous system and its responses, its reactions, its messages to you. Sometimes, and I would say hopefully all the time in most cases, caregivers are trying to do the best they can. And still, life circumstances created overwhelm. Illness, depression, loss, migration, poverty, isolation, maybe a lack of support, these can all shape early nervous system development, both from the parents or the caregivers as well as now from the child, which then grew up as being you. So imagine an adult who says, "My childhood was fine, I don't remember anything bad." But in relationships, they experience a sudden, intense alarm when closeness increases. If a partner is quiet, their mind spirals, "I did something wrong." Or if a friend cancels plans, they feel a wave of shame and panic that seems to be out of proportion. They might try to reason with it. They tell themselves like, "Oh, this is irrational, nothing happened." But the body doesn't respond to logic first. It responds to patterns. So their nervous system may have learned early on that connection is uncertain, needs are unsafe, or comfort isn't reliable. No story, no clear memory, just a body that learned vigilance before language. Also often, preverbal trauma is about what didn't happen, but should have happened. Experiences as empathy or comfort or attunement of parents, if it wasn't there or wasn't there enough, that can also leave an imprint, which we call preverbal trauma. So now let's bring this into a simple polyvagal-informed frame. In early life, the nervous system is constantly tracking, am I safe enough? And often it tracks this through faces, tone, touch, rhythm, and responsiveness. When things are safe enough, the system tends to settle into safety and connection. And this is the state where we can rest, digest, bond, and develop. However, when safety is inconsistent or absent, the system may spend more time in protection. And there's two ways. So there's the mobilized protection, which is fight and flight, which can be sensed as agitation, restless energy, crying that doesn't settle, and later anxiety or urgency. The other one is shutdown protection, and this can be experienced as numbing, disassociation, being checked out, and later depression-like states or fog, collapse, disconnection. Preverbal trauma often means the nervous system built its foundation with more protection and less ease. So later, calm can feel unfamiliar. Stillness can feel unsafe. Receiving help can feel threatening. And this isn't personality, it's conditioning of your nervous system. So here are common adult signs that can be consistent with preverbal trauma. This, again, it's not diagnostic, it's just patterns. So for example, in the body, it could show up in chronic tension, shallow breathing, also gut sensitivity, nausea under stress, but also sleep issues for like sort of the wired and tired kind of type. Also a heightened startle response, or feeling on edge without a clear reason. On the emotional level, it can show up as shame that appears quickly, or a constant fear of being too much, or sudden overwhelm with closeness, but also difficulty calming yourself when activated. In relationships, this can show up as an anxious attachment pattern for those who are clinging or have fear of abandonment, or an avoidant pattern, so they keep themselves at a distance, or independence is seen as safety, or also the fawn or people-pleasing way of being, like staying safe by being easy and likable. Or also if you have difficulty trusting comfort or care. And on the level of the meaning making, there are sentences like, I'm not safe, or my needs are a problem. I have to handle it alone. Again, these are adaptations. They once helped you survive. So what helps? Because preverbal trauma is often stored as a felt sense, the doorway to healing is frequently body-based and relational, not purely cognitive. So if you have been in purely cognitive-based therapy and you haven't come a step further, this might be a reason. So here are a few supportive approaches, body-based. So microdoses of safety is the first part. So small, consistent cues of safety, for example, same bedtime routine, predictable pauses, gentle self-contact, soothing sensory inputs. These are all microdoses of safety. Often the relationship with a therapist for some people is the first form of a relationship that they can trust is safe. The second part is co-regulation. So safe connection helps the nervous system update. Again, this can be done in therapy, but also with a supportive partner, a group, a friend, someone that is steady and reliable and is there. And third is body-first tools, so somatic approaches that track sensation without forcing a story, like gentle breathing, grounding techniques, movement, orienting, titration, which is the word for taking small steps, pendulation, which is also another term from somatic experience, which is between a neutral and an activated place. All these tools are being used in somatic experience, in body-based therapies or trauma approaches. So look out for those. And also the grounding techniques we'll do in each of these episodes are based on that. And number 4 would be repair over perfection. So if your system learned rupture with no repair, then even small repairs now they matter, like an honest conversation, apologies, clarification, and a consistent follow-through. Make sure you find someone that is able to be in that kind of relationship with you, and maybe it's your therapist. And for helpers or partner listening to this, one of the best gift is not fixing, it's a steady presence. So use predictable tone, clear boundaries, consistent reassurance without pressure, and patience with how long the body takes to trust. So this practice today, the grounding practice, is different from the previous episode and is designed to be gentle for preverbal material. So it involves less thinking and more sensory support. Keep eyes open if you like. Step 1. Choose one point of contact. Your feet on the floor, your back on the chair, or your hands resting together. And just notice contact exists. Step 2. Name 2 sounds you can hear right now. They might be near or far. And no need to analyze, just register the sound. Step 3. Find one neutral color in the room and let your eyes rest there for a moment. And then step 4. Roll your shoulders slowly once and then again. Or gently press your feet into the floor and release twice. Just a gentle movement. And then step 5, one simple phrase. Say softly to yourself, in this moment, I'm safe enough to be here. And if that feels too strong, try, in this moment, I'm here. And please notice in your pulse if there's any small shift. More breath, more space, more contact. Everything counts. If you'd like support as you move through this series, check my website for the free resources offered for both those affected by trauma and grief and those supporting them. Again, choose what fits your pace. In the next episode, we'll explore attachment and relational trauma, and how safety in connection shapes the nervous system, and how healing often happens in connection too. Until next time, take care. Thanks for listening to How to Deal with Grief and Trauma. If you'd like to be updated on future episodes, please subscribe to my newsletter on nataliehimmelrich.com. If you need grief support, please contact me for a 30 minutes free discovery session. How to Deal with Grief and Trauma is produced and edited by me, Natalie Himmelrich. To support this podcast, please rate, review, and subscribe to or follow the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you. And remember to keep breathing. I promise it will get easier.